Hey, and we're live. 81, baby. Hi everybody. So some folks asked me to go through the process of how I'm applying for citizenship with Benin. We're gonna get another passport, darling. So Spike Lee, don't know if you heard, is now an ambassador of Benin. Ciara just got dual citizenship. Lauryn Hill's just visiting. It looks like they're doing a more calm version of what the year of the return was that Ghana did in 2019. So I'm in the process of applying, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how I did it step by step. But first, I want to ask you something, and I want to give a little bit of some love in regards to this. So for some folks, if you could reclaim citizenship back to the continent, back to somewhere on the continent, would you do it for folks who are of Afro descent and know that they were a part of the transatlantic slave trade? Because again, not everyone who is on this side of the planet, the Western Hemisphere, came through the transatlantic slave trade, who is Afro. Very interesting, right? Let me know if you want to hear about it. It's quite fascinating. Do you want to know which Afro country you and your people came from? So that's something that is very hard. So grappling with that is difficult for some folks. Or what would it mean to have a passport to a place that can connect you to your heritage? But again, how do you know exactly where, right? But if you ever wondered, this video is for you. I'm gonna walk through it, and I'm gonna share some things that you probably haven't heard anywhere else. So first things first, Benin in English, that's in English. In French is Benin, and I get confused a bit within myself, because from Haiti, I'm from Okai, which is also known as Lekai, but then I'm also from a place called Benin. So I usually say Benin instead of Benin. But some cool facts, Benin, about to say Benin again. Benin is in West Africa, and we've got Ouidah, was one of the largest slave ports in West Africa, shipping over 1 million Africans to the Americas. Benin is also the birthplace of Voodoo, the spiritual system that influenced Haitian Voodoo, Brazilian Candomblé, and New Orleans Voodoo. I don't know if it has connections with Hoodoo, but most likely, Afro-American Hoodoo. The Kingdom of Dahomey. So before Benin was called Benin, there was the Kingdom of the Dahomey, which ruled parts of Benin. And they also had an elite all-female unit military, like militia. If you watch The Woman King, then you know what I'm talking about. Agoji. That movie is amazing. They're also known as the Dahomey Amazons. Also, Benin's diaspora stretches from Bahia, Brazil, the Caribbean, to the Carolinas, and everything like that. In recent years, Benin has officially apologized for its role in the slave trade and is actively inviting Afro-descendants. So when you're applying for the citizenship, you're just stepping into living history. It's pretty amazing. But before I get into the application, when you hear sub-Sahara, I just want to cover some points. When you hear sub-Sahara Africa, it simply means all African countries south of the Sahara Desert. So that's West Africa, East Africa, Central Africa, Southern Africa, basically. Most folks that are part of the Afro slave trade are from like West and Central. Haitians included were from like West and Central. But I want to pause and speak to the folks who I notice sometimes it come across as like, nah, I'm good, my people are from here. Like, done. Now, I get that. There is some conversations that could be had around like what's native, what's indigenous, what's aboriginal. Let me know if you want to talk about that. That also too is very exciting. But folks who are just like, oh, I'm just from Haiti, or I'm just from the US, or I'm just from Canada, places where descendants of enslaved Africans have built whole cultures and histories just being here, I completely understand. But here's also the thing. before Europeans, Afro folks were already living and traveling in these international waters and streets. And like I said before, there are Afro people who are not a part of the Afro slave trade who was chilling here with the indigenous folks and whatnot. And then some folks were here before, which we could talk about later. So completely get that. Because we were already traveling, trading, and connecting across continents. I know many of us can't pinpoint where we're from on the continent, even though I'm from Haiti, and we are very big in who we are and where we come from. And there's oral stories, like I said, in my family, there's oral stories of us being from the Congo. But many Pan-Africans, when they see me, they think I'm Ifik Nigerian because I'm like tall, crispy chicken and fluffy, which I completely get. And if you're blessed, some people in your family have documented those oral stories and traditions so that you have a clear idea of where you come from before like the Western Hemisphere, right? Or you found out that your family is not a part of the Afro Atlantic slave trade. Got it. But I would say that all is very fascinating, but this invitation that West African, Central African, East, South, all of them, but specifically the West African countries, right, that played a large part in where a lot of people came from, West and Central. Nobody's asking you to erase who you are today. Like the beauty, the challenges, the cultural mix that we've inherited through history, our languages, our food, our music, even the way that we carry ourselves, it's all shaped by the joy and the trauma of, our shared past. So one thing's for sure and two things are for certain. We're definitely connected. We're similar. We're not the same. And creating brave spaces for us to live and build together, as we've been already doing for generations, is a beautiful thing. Just don't do what Afro-Americans did in Liberia. # put another pin on that. We could talk about that later if you want to know more about that. So for me, I accept the invitation of Benin. I accept that what they're offering. And if you don't feel called, that's okay too. We can't take everybody. # Harriet Tubman, # Pan-Africanism. So now, with that being said, let's move forward before my next call. Okay. So the application process. There is a page called, can I switch my camera around? There's a page called My Afro Origins Portal, right? Let me show you. I can switch it around. Okay, so you see here, reconnect, not connect, because we already connected. Let me put this in English for you, everybody. So this is the portal. This is what it looks like. So like myafroorigins.bj. Now, mind you, I work in government technology, so I already sent a whole email with advice about how to level up this page because, cool. It almost looks like it's not real, but it's real. So as you can see here, as soon as you scroll down, it says recognition of nationality for Afro-descendants, right? And then you can read more. And it basically gives you the 1212 about how to go about the application. It costs $100 and 3 months from the notification of receipt. You receive, once it's approved, you receive a certificate, right? And then that certificate, you need to go, once you receive the certificate, you need to go visit Benin, which, yes, let me know if you want support on figuring out how to go ahead and visit. I potentially will be visiting Benin in the next 2-3 weeks, so I can go ahead and build up a whole itinerary for folks for when they want to go check it out. So the documents that you need for this, I'm just going to, my application is complete, so you're not really going to go through the process. But first things first, what they're going to ask you to do is, they're going to ask this question of, do you know what the recognition of nationality for Afro-descendants in the Republic of Benin is? So you're going to basically read through it and everything like that. If it applies to you, of course, apply. Then it's going to ask you, are you of Afro descent? Say yes. And then they'll ask you, how are you of Afro descent, right? So, of course, I'm from Haiti, the first Black Republic of the world, here in the Caribbean. So I put all the context of me and my family and where we're from. And then it's going to say information about the people through whom you are of Afro descent, right? So you can put your parents, you can put your grandparents. and put their information in. And then you're going to put your personal information in, your name, gender, date of birth, country, nationality, country of residence, your phone number, your occupation. You need to provide an ID. I put my passport. I think it makes sense to just do your passport. Then you need to provide information of your parents, mother and father. And then there's a section where now you need to upload documents. Yeah. They're going to ask for proof of Afro-descent. This is the part where I was a little bit confusion, because I'm like, okay, I just send you a picture of my face. But some documents you should just like gather in advance is like your resume. I use my resume as my proof of profession. You can go to your LinkedIn and download your LinkedIn profile as a PDF, and you can upload that. You want to get your birth certificate. You want to for the proof of Afro-descent, you can write a document that explains your genealogy, oral stories. If you do your DNA test, you can go ahead and thank you, Nezzy. Thank you, darling. You can go ahead and upload your results of your DNA ancestry. I also want to know how many of you have actually done your DNA ancestry situation. I'm a little bit scared with this whole entire thing of like, why am I going to give you my genetic information so you could probably keep or make superhumans of us, but they probably already have it. But let me know your experience of getting your DNA tested, to figure, like getting your genetic code tested in a lab so that you can figure out where are you from. I heard African ancestry is really, 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 really good, and is more specific than the other counterparts. So I would say from the folks that have shared it with me, I would recommend AfricanAncestry.com. And then there is the matrilineal line and the patrilineal line. Either one you can use to take the test for it and then upload those documents. Yeah. And then some other documents you want to have. They ask for a documentation of like your criminal record, like you not having a criminal history. I'm based in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, in the US, and I went to this site that it was just $22, and it came back in like 5 minutes, and it had like all of the appropriate documentation and signatures and everything that showed that I had no criminal history, because I thought that was going to be a long-winded process because I wanted to quickly apply. Now that Ciara, Spike Lee, Lauryn Hill, there's so much attention going to the country, I'm like, you better get in where you fit in and apply now. And I found this site. Let me just quickly find it for you all. 1 second, just so I can give you the name of, like, look for this in your county or your city or your state. Okay, yeah. So basically, go to your state's state's police department website, and let me just go. So literally put your state and then put police department and then put criminal background check, right? Or criminal record or criminal history, and just search for that. And hopefully all states have this. All state police have this. They have a site where you can literally just put in your information and it'll give you a document that basically says you have no criminal background. So I basically used that and got that in like 0.25 seconds. And I used that for my application. So proof of Afro-descent, again, you want to go back to my notes. You want to have like either written documentation of you tracking your genealogy, testimonies, or your Afro ancestry. You want to get the passport and birth certificates of grandparents, both preferred, or one of the other. I'll let you know how it goes. I kind of only have the passports of my grandparents, not the birth certificate, so we'll see how that goes. And then proof of residence, so you could use like a utility bill. I use that for the one for my property. And that's about it. So those are all the things that I submitted. I'll let you know how it goes, if I've been approved, what the back and forth looks like, but it's quite simple. It's not bad at all. And let me see. And then, yes, you have to pay $100 to submit your application, and then wait 3 months to go ahead and get that like certificate. And then you need to visit the country. So I'll take you guys along with this whole entire process with myself. But that's about it. Hopefully that was all clear. I have to go to another meeting. But if you have any questions about this process, if you want me to talk about any of the things that I mentioned in the beginning of the video when I was setting this up, let me know. But again, for me, you know, this isn't about like a, you know, just getting another passport, getting a third passport, anything like that. It's just, again, about reconnection, because why not? In this short but long life that we have, when I submit my application, I'm thinking about the ancestors whose name I don't remember, but just for the fact that I'm here and I survived and I have some connaissance, like I have some, I don't know how to say it in English. How do you say connaissance in English? Because I have some awareness, of who I am and where I've come from, to the best of my knowledge, and knowing that, you know, just a hop and a skip away are people who look like me. Of course I want to go connect with them. Like, and also to connect with me, because remember, it's an exchange. So for the ancestor whose name I don't know, who probably stepped into a ship in Ouida, this is my process of stepping back, because why not? So if you have any questions, of course I want to answer them. Drop your questions in the comments. Feel free to DM me on Instagram, because your girl's on Instagram now, at itsdeeperthantravel.com. At itsdeeperthantravel, not .com. At itsdeeperthantravel. And of course, share this with someone in diaspora who needs to see this, or share this with a friend who's been like, I've been wanting to apply and get another passport. I also think that if you are on the Western Hemisphere and you have a passport on this side, or a passport for another European or whatever country, get an African passport and stop playing these games. Get an African passport. Stop playing these games. If you know, you know why. If you know, you know why. Get an African passport, please. And in my next video, I'll cover what happens after I apply. How do I prepare for a trip to go to Benin? And what to expect after you've arrived, and, you know, what happens next to actually get the passport. Like I would say, it's deeper than travel. See you next time. Bye.